Welcome to Community Solar Lose. I'm Ray, and with me, as always, is Della. And today's rundown is doing something I don't think we've done yet. No giant headline number, no institutional buyout. It's a quieter kind of week.
Ooh, I like that as an opening thesis. Prove it.
Recognition that holds up over time, financing that's small enough to be boring, and a state writing a savings promise into actual law instead of just a program guideline. None of it's flashy. All of it's foundational.
Okay, I'm sold. Where do we start?
Let's start with recognition, because I like starting happy. Pivot Energy just landed on Solar Power World's 2026 list of top solar contractors, and this is their 7th time on that list.
7th? That's not luck. That's a track record. What did they hit this year?
Number 4 nationally in the Community Solar Contractors category, and number 9 on the broader National Solar Developers list.
Contractor list and developer list. Those aren't the same category, right?
Right, and that's worth pausing on. Landing high on both means they're not just winning as a builder for hire, they're winning as the company originating and carrying projects too. That's a wider footprint than most names on that list can claim.
Fair distinction. What about the state lists?
6th in Maryland, 7th in Colorado, 13th in Illinois.
Wait, Illinois again? Ray, I feel like we say that state's name in every single episode at this point.
We might need a tally board. But look past the state names for a second. 3 different states, 3 different regulatory regimes, 3 different sets of program rules, and they're ranked in all 3. That's not a company that got good at one state's paperwork. That's a company that figured out how to operate across a genuinely fragmented market.
Which on this beat is its own skill. Every state runs its capacity blocks differently. Every state runs interconnection differently. Staying ranked in 3 at once is a real operational lift.
And look at the volume behind the ranking. 85 solar projects built in 2025, more than 126 megawatts. And they're not slowing down. More than 150 projects on the books for 2026 and 2027.
150 projects in the pipeline isn't just bragging rights either. That's real visibility for anyone downstream at them. Subscriber acquisition partners, EPC subcontractors, landowners planning around a build schedule.
It's also worth saying out loud for anyone doing acquisition work. A developer with that much visibility into their own pipeline is a much easier partner to plan a subscriber campaign around than one project at a time.
Agreed. You can actually staff and budget a marketing push when you know roughly how much capacity is coming and when, instead of scrambling every time a single project gets a notice to proceed.
And this is the same Pivot Energy from a few weeks back, right? The Warren County sheep?
The very same, and I already know you're about to bring them up again.
I am delighted every single time that comes up.
You have never let it go.
I will never let it go, Della. A ranking like this, 7th year running, means the industry isn't just picking a new favorite every cycle.
That's actually the real story here. Consistency becomes a competitive advantage once a market matures past who can build the single flashiest project. A program administrator deciding who gets the next award wants a name they've already watched deliver 6 times over.
And 150 projects already lined up for the next 2 years says the market agrees with that read. Speaking of building, let's talk about who's actually funding the next round of it. Ballast Asset Management just closed development financing for sole source power on 14 community solar projects in...
Let me guess.
Illinois.
Called it. That's the tally board officially out of control today. What's the size?
74.5 megawatts DC across those 14 projects. It's an 18-month loan out of Ballast Real Estate Private Credit Fund.
Real Estate Private Credit Fund. That's an interesting name to see writing checks into solar development.
It is, and I think it's a good sign. Real estate credit funds already know how to underwrite land, entitlements, and permitting risk. That's their whole business. A community solar project at the development stage is basically the same underwriting problem with a different asset sitting on the land.
Okay, but what's the catch? 18 months is a short runway if something in permitting or interconnection slips.
Fair skepticism. And that's exactly why it's development stage money, not construction money. 18 months lines up with getting a project through permitting, interconnection studies, and site control to the point where it can actually qualify for a construction loan or a tax equity closing. It's not funding the whole life of the project, just the riskiest, least fundable stretch of it.
Which is exactly the gap that kills good projects. You can have the site, you can have your spot in the interconnection queue, and still stall out because nobody wants to write a check that small.
Right. The big infrastructure funds want 9 figures. A capital source built specifically for sub-10 million development stage deals is filling a hole a lot of mid-sized developers fall straight into.
This is a boring is good story if I've ever heard one. The market needs more of exactly this kind of unglamorous capital.
Agreed. If this fund keeps doing deals like this one, it's a real signal for the next tier of developers who don't have an institutional balance sheet behind them.
And 14 projects in one facility instead of 14 separate financing conversations is its own kind of efficiency. Sole Source Power gets to spend its time on permits and interconnection, not chasing a new lender for every single site.
Okay, official tally? That's 2 Illinois mentions in one episode. New personal record.
Don't get used to it. Our next one breaks the streak.
Worth flagging too. If Ballast Rock keeps writing loans like this one, that's a capital source worth tracking for any developer stuck in that exact gap between site control and construction financing.
Okay, my turn to bring the substantive one, because this is the story I've been waiting to talk about all week. Nautilus Solar and TurningPoint Energy cut the ribbon on a new community solar farm just outside Dover, Delaware, called KE73.
How big?
4 megawatts on a 35-year lease. Solid, not enormous, but the size isn't the story. The law behind it is.
Go.
Delaware just passed Senate Bill 321, and it puts a real number on subscriber savings. A floor, not a target. Every subscriber gets at least 10% off their bill. Low to moderate income subscribers get a minimum of 20%.
Locked in by statute, not just a program guideline.
Right, and that distinction matters more than people give it credit for. A program guideline can get revised in the next rulemaking cycle. A statute is a floor a developer can actually underwrite to.
I want to sit in my corner for a second on this one, because it's the kind of rule I want to see more states copy. A locked-in minimum savings number takes the guesswork out of the subscriber pitch. You're not promising up to some number that quietly shrinks later. And for a developer, knowing that floor is set by statute means you can model the LMI carve-out with real confidence, instead of hoping the rules hold.
That's the part that gets missed in these stories. This isn't just a nice ribbon cutting for the neighbors near Dover. It's a template. Any state watching Delaware do this now has a working example of what an actual savings floor, backed by law, looks like.
And notice the lease length, too. 35 years. That's not a short-term site deal. That's a developer planning around a savings floor that's supposed to hold for decades, not just through the next legislative session.
Which is the quiet argument for why you'd want it codified in the first place. If you're signing a 35-year lease and structuring subscriber agreements around it, you want the savings number underneath all of that to be as durable as the lease itself.
There's also something to be said for the ribbon cutting itself. A project going from paperwork to an actual energized farm outside Dover is the moment all of this stops being a bill number in Dover and starts being kilowatt hours actually flowing to somebody's account.
That's the connection I want listeners to sit with. The law sets the floor, but a project like this one is what proves the floor is real, not just ink on a statute. And it's worth watching whether other states follow Delaware's lead here. A working template like this tends not to stay in one state for long, especially once developers start pointing to it in their own dockets as proof it can be done.
That's a good one for us to check back on. And TurningPoint isn't a one-project shop either. 10 completed projects, more than 47 megawatts total, and another 60-plus megawatts in development or late-stage planning. This is a developer building a track record on exactly this kind of project.
Small project, big precedent. That's my pick for the story of the week.
So if I'm scoring today, a company proving consistency beats flash, a lender proving boring capital fills real gaps, and a state proving a savings promise is worth more once it's actually law. Not a single mega deal in the bunch.
And that's exactly why it's a good week, not just a quiet one. Good place to land today. Before we go, a couple of things. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Our Power Co. Their whole pitch is simple. You build the solar, we bring the community.
They handle subscriber acquisition, filling the capacity you've got, wherever you're building it. And if you're listening as a homeowner or renter who just wants to subscribe and lower your own bill, that's a different door. Go to joincommunity.solar.
One more thing about how this show gets made. We build it almost entirely with AI, and we picked tools from companies that cover their own energy and grid costs instead of quietly passing them on to local households. On an energy show, that felt like the bare minimum.
And every number you heard today is sourced and linked in the show notes.
Oh, and if you want the day-to-day between episodes, we've started publishing something called the Solar Docket. It's free, it's daily, and it's at communitysolar.news.
Find us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and now on YouTube if you'd rather watch. Head to communitysolar.news for the newsletter.
I'm Ray.
I'm Della, and that's the community in Community Solar.